Добрый вечер, добрый вечер, добрый вечер, добрый вечер и добро пожаловать на борт. В прошлой серии наш инспектор перешел к активным действиям. Ну, собственно, тогда пора и нам. Слушать он нас больше не намерен, так что нам нужно будет предъявить ему самого убийцу. Так, у нас, по крайней мере, есть уже две задачи. Нам нужно будет пробраться к нему в кабинет, да воспользоваться его лабораторией, плюс поговорить с Зайцем. И пока, давайте сначала посмотрим на кабинет, потом уже пойдем к Оливеру. Посмотрим, можно ли как-то его собрать с места. Хорошо.
The lock isn't especially secure. If I had a wire or something like that, I could probably pick it.
Проволока. Где мы можем взять проволоку? Думаю, можно пробовать сходить к писательнице. У нас, в принципе, не единственная женщина, но, по крайней мере, единственная, с которой мы встречались на борту. Окей. Мы спросим нее, возможно, где-нибудь найдем ту американку заносчивую. У кого-то из них по-любому должна быть проволока. Можно осмотреться также, думаю, в кабинете, ну, в каюте баронессы. Возможно, где-то в вещах ее найдем. Тогда давайте поэтапно осматривать все три части. Окей, начнем тогда с кабинета баронессы. Смотрим сразу в ее сумочке. Если там нет, то, думаю, копаться там уже дальше будет бессмысленно. Так. Сумочка у тебя была где-то здесь, насколько я помню. Нет, ей я не могу уже воспользоваться. Ну то здесь больше другого ничего нет. Пойдемте поговорим с писательницей. А там, если повезет, то у нас, может быть, кто-то появится новый. Мы так до сих пор не видели еще скрипача, не видели профессора. Он где-то прячется, хотя черт знает где. Кают вроде пустых здесь не было. Все осмотрели. Там еще есть и странных пассажиров. Кстати, можно припомнить, наверное, еще проводника из поезда. Нам его зачем-то показали, а как в детективах. Просто так люди не появляются.
Mr. Kreutzer, come on, you have to give me a bit more. You're the only one who was on the train and who has no alibi for last night.
As I said, I was in my cabin.
Are you sure that it was your cabin and not the Baroness's?
Legrand will question the guests one after another. But if he doesn't get the answers that he wants to hear, it could become unpleasant for them.
Да-да. Так, давайте пока поговорим с писательницей.
Lady Westmacott, may I bother you for a moment?
By all means, Mr. Zellner.
Допрос. Да ладно, сейчас я хотел попросить какую-нибудь скрипку.
How is the questioning going?
Are you implying that I'm an eavesdropper? The inspector is placing a lot of pressure on our dear Mr. Kreutzer. He's the only one who was on the train and who doesn't have an alibi for last night.
Perhaps. But him? A murderer?
I know people like him. He doesn't have enough backbone to kill someone in cold blood and remain so calm. He'd turn it into a drama and then a farce, drink himself insensible and then, railing at fate, pitch himself into the sea. Forget him. Legrand is wasting his time. Mr. Kreutzer just happens to be a perfect fit for the inspector's image of the Raven.
Athletic, cultured, moves among the rich and famous.
I'll eat his violin if he's the Raven or the murderer.
I have to be going, Lady Westmacott.
Please keep me informed, Constable Zellner.
Of course.
Да, он меньше всего подходит на роль вора. Что же твой ночь проводник это? Говорим о корабле, ладно. Их я потревожить не могу. Что-то еще здесь интересное есть. Диски кастрюли. Давайте посмотрим. Откуда иметь найду проволоку? И что-нибудь.
English ham and eggs. One advantage on an international trip is the international breakfast. Many of my fellow countrymen think it's outrageous to eat fried bacon, sausages, or anything heavy for breakfast. I, on the other hand, think ham and eggs are the only worthwhile contribution the English have made to international cuisine.
Так, что-то еще полезное здесь есть?
It's not fair. There's a magnificent buffet, but I don't have an appetite. Maybe a side effect of the tranquilizer.
Так, Кофе.
Excellent.
Ладно, возьму кофейку. Но ничего полезного здесь вроде бы как нет, да? Давайте еще раз сейчас посмотрим на кастрюлю. Если ничего нового не услышим, пойдем дальше.
That's just what I needed.
Такие маленькие кружки. Так, больше точно здесь ничего нет.
It's not...
Ну,
There's...
да. Окей. Так, будем тогда обыскивать все. Или всех допросим. Что с тобой?
The death of his mistress
Так,
does...
окей, ты ничего нового не скажешь. Что, мы сразу будем туда отправляться к Оливеру? Пока со скрепкой или какой-либо заколкой. Ничего мы не нашли, ладно. Оливер, опять спишь? Ну, быстрее он нас тоже сейчас вряд ли куда-либо пропустит. Не туда. О, ладно. Так, если мы подольем ему кофе в его бутылку, что нам это даст? Короче, мы сюда поднимемся. У нас вроде бы ничего нету.
There's dirt piled up in the corner. Down below, where the passengers are, the ship is pretty clean. But the crew doesn't seem to care as much up here.
Больше здесь ничего нет? Ну ладно. Хотя бы убедились в их нечистоплотности. Так, куда же нам пойти? Давайте, может, что-нибудь где-нибудь найдем новое. Оливер, все так же спишь? Ух ты, Мэтт. А я думал, ты не здесь. Давай вот с ним поговорим, мне кажется, это больше будет толку.
Matt is keeping himself busy with that strange game. He seems to be okay again, but I think he'd be running around all over the place if he'd really come to terms with what happened on the train.
Окей, поговорить не могу.
Hello there, partner.
Мэтт, может, что-нибудь поможет? Ты мне как-то в поезде
Hi.
очень много
Are you alright?
полезного сказал.
Uh-huh.
Так, ну давайте по порядку. Как у тебя дела?
Have you recovered from our adventure?
Mm-hmm. Mr. Zellner,
Да.
Hmm?
what's going on?
What do you mean?
Everybody's acting so strange. And there's tape across that door. I saw that in a movie once.
You don't have to
Ничего не
be
знаешь, что ли?
worried.
Is it about the man from the train?
It might be about the thief, yes.
Haven't you caught him yet?
I'm working on it.
Okay.
Так, ну спросим о маме.
I heard you and your mom used to argue a lot.
We did. Everything was bad. The house, school, the other kids. We didn't have much money, and I was always alone.
You do know that your mother would love to have been with you, don't you? She had to go out to work to earn money.
She wouldn't have had to, if Dad were still around.
And how do you get along with her now?
I'm always happy when we do something together on vacation. She has more time for me now. And I like my boarding school. I have lots of friends, and the teachers aren't so bad.
Окей, значит, у профессора Люсьен там стоит. Что совсем не знал, но спросим о профессоре.
Your mother and Professor Lucien seem to be on very good terms with each other. Don't you like him?
Don't know.
He seems to be very nice.
I guess.
Окей, спросим о леди писательнице.
Lady Westmacott is all by herself in the saloon. Maybe you'd like to visit her later.
Sure. The lady tells exciting stories.
I know. She's my favorite writer.
She told me that it's not much fun to write detective novels. She'd rather write something else, but her fans always want the same thing.
They made her rich and famous.
I told her to write what she wants to write. If it's good, someone will buy it. And if not, at least she had fun writing it. Then she smiled and nodded. She said it was a good idea.
Окей, ну и поговорим об игре.
What are you playing there?
I'm playing shuffleboard. At least I'm trying to.
Never played it before.
It's easy. Professor Lucien explained it to me.
And who won?
We didn't play.
You didn't want to play with him, did you? Do you want to play a game with me?
Я тоже не особо хорошо играю. Ну давай, так начало с
I
правил.
think you'll have to explain the rules to me first.
Okay, you play with the blue pucks and I play with the red ones. You have to push the pucks with this stick into the zone over there and score as many points as possible.
Sounds
Okay.
easy. How many pucks do I have?
6. Now here comes the kicker. First it's your turn, then mine, and so on. But everyone is allowed to shoot the other person's pucks out of the zone.
Хорошо, попробуем.
Then let's get started.
Oh yeah.
Хотя бы немного отвлечемся от всего происходящего
I
здесь.
thought we just play for fun.
That's boring. We have to bet something. Otherwise it isn't fun.
You
Что могу
English
поставить?
people.
So I'll bet my brand new slingshot. And you?
I don't want to gamble.
How about ice cream in Cairo?
Okay. If I win, I get the slingshot. If I lose, I get an ice cream in Cairo.
Hey!
Мыслительный
Never
процесс.
try to cheat Matt Miller. So, what do you say? Ice cream versus slingshot?
All right. Let the games begin.
Ну окей, в принципе, вообще суть понятна. Попробуем. Тогда, наверное, так, здесь не слишком далеко. 1. Ох ты, черт. Ну ладно, хоть что-то для начала. Так, окей. Попробовать бы себя как-нибудь на 10-ку сдвинуть. Неплохо, я думаю, вряд ли я смогу его выбить. Вот так. Ох ты. Сколько у меня? 10, окей. О, у него уже 20-ка. Надо пытаться избавиться от его шайб. Ох ты, черт, плохо. Так, окей. Так, немного посильнее попробуем. Какой счет? О, опережаем. Так, давайте попробуем закинуть на 37. Если получится. Главное бы не перекинуть дальше и наоборот и не добросить. Сколько? 35, ну ладно. Кто кого? Так, но все равно продолжающего опережать, если мы сейчас получится как-то это закинуть к десяткам, было бы очень кстати. Давай. Окей. Ну, в принципе, вроде победили.
That's it.
Oh man.
Так,
The
теперь ты мне
athlete
должен
wins the
рогатку.
day.
One more time.
No, that's enough for me.
Alright. Here.
Are you sure?
Gambling debts are debts of honor.
Окей. Куда мы можем ее
I'll
применить?
give it back to you when I don't need it anymore, okay?
Okay. But make sure my mom doesn't catch you with it. She thinks it's dangerous.
В принципе, наверное, из нее можно пробовать выстрелить по... Почему не
He
попробовать?
could be more cooperative, but in the end, he's just doing his job. No reason to shoot a stone at his head.
Ну, окей, так бы, думаю, могли его отвлечь. Давайте поговорим с вами, ребята. Что полезно узнаем. Заодно еще раз, может быть, одолжим
Miss
шпильку.
Miller and the professor are talking intensely. She seems pretty relaxed, by her standards.
Против всех вас немного отвлеку.
Good morning, Miss Miller. Professor Lucien?
Constable Zellner, how are you? I heard you passed out last night.
Well, not quite. I was poisoned.
Oh,
That wretch!
Спросим в прошлом вечере их.
Who do you mean by that wretch?
Ух ты.
That stowaway! That new raven!
Да,
The
маловероятно,
young
что это
man
он.
can't be the murderer. Constable Oliver had already apprehended him when the shot was fired.
You mean...
Whoever killed the Baroness is still on the loose.
I think I should take my leave. I'd like to rest for a while.
Что ты тогда
One
нервничал?
last question, Professor.
Давайте спросим о ключе. Если он до сих пор у него, то, в принципе, тогда понятно, чего он может бояться.
The safe in Legrand's cabin can only be opened with
Хотя ключи уже,
3
по всей видимости,
keys.
украли.
Am I right?
That's correct. We sent the first to Monsieur Mokhtar of the Egyptian Museum via air freight. I have one, and the inspector has the other.
But it was originally planned that someone else should carry the third key, right?
You are well informed, Constable. Baroness von Trebitz should have had it. But then there were concerns. And for that reason,
И что
Inspector
это за проблемы?
Legrand took it himself.
Я немного
Was that
подзабыл.
his idea?
Well, yes, you could say that. I want to go back to my cabin. I'll see you later, Mary.
Интересно, где твоя каюта?
Of course. See you later.
Так, ну давайте поговорим с мисс Миллер. Может быть, она мне одолжит еще раз.
I didn't want to interrupt your conversation with Professor Lucien so abruptly.
I don't know what's wrong with him.
Learning that there's still a burglar on board seemed to frighten him.
He was so relaxed the whole time, and then...
And then the stupid Swiss constable came by and made him anxious.
Oh, I didn't mean that.
No matter. I'm sure he'll calm down and come back soon enough. May I ask you a few questions?
Of course.
Окей, давай. Ух ты, сколько у нас вариантов там. Ну, давайте пойдем по порядку, спросим о Мэтте, как он.
How is Matt? He seems happy enough.
After all the commotion, he's already back to his old self again. But I haven't told him about the murder. That would be a bit too much for him.
I think he's made of sterner stuff.
I want to thank you again for what you did on the train. I wouldn't have known...
Everything's fine. Think nothing of it.
Сейчас все в порядке. Ладно, спросим о вчерашнем вечере ее, надеюсь.
How was last night for you?
It was awful. I was having a conversation with Edgar, Professor Lucien, here on the forecastle. Then I wanted to look for the lady and went forward via the side deck. When I passed the Baroness's cabin, I heard a muffled scream.
You heard a
Ух ты,
scream?
крик.
Yes. I thought the Baroness probably had a fall. I went to the door and listened for a moment. Since I couldn't hear anything, I knocked on the door and asked whether she was all right. There was no answer.
Interesting. And
Тебя
then?
это не встревожило?
I didn't know what to do, so I tried to open the door. It was locked. I saw the Baroness's butler, Mr. Inch, on the forecastle. I thought he might have the key and went back. On the way, the bobby crossed my path, and then Edgar, who wanted to check the safe. I explained the situation to him, and then the alarm went off.
Окей. Так, это становится интересным. Скажи поподробнее о крике.
How did the scream sound?
It was a short outcry, very frightened, as if someone had been startled.
Was it a woman's voice?
Yes, the voice was high.
Высоким.
So it could have been a scream from the Baroness. Possibly because she discovered someone in her cabin.
Possibly.
That person might have threatened her with a weapon, so that she wouldn't scream for help.
Oh, God.
He waited until the coast was clear.
Oh, please, stop it, Mr. Zellner.
Так, а у нас, в принципе, девушки всего три, насколько я понимаю, получается, это американка могла быть. Ладно, давайте пойдем дальше по порядку. Скажите о дворецком.
The Baroness's butler said that he was on the forecastle as well.
Yes, he was standing on the other side of the deck smoking a cigarette.
Ну, хотя бы не
Was he on the forecastle the whole time?
I'm not sure. He was there, and later he was on the side deck with us. Oh, yes, he looked after you while you were unconscious. He unbuttoned your collar and held your head while the doctor checked you.
But you can't say for certain whether he came from the forecastle with you and Professor Lucien, or afterwards.
Well, no. But where else could he have come from?
Окей. Так, ладно, что вы думаете о расследовании Леграна?
Did you report that to Inspector Legrand?
Yes, last night. He was very interested and took a lot of notes. But I wanted to look for Lady Westmacott, and he let me go without further delay. He said that he'd take down my full statement today.
I understand.
Do you think the man from the train also killed the Baroness, Constable Zellner?
I don't know yet.
It's horrible. Explosions, thieves, murderers. This isn't the right place for a lady and a little boy.
Интересно, что вас связывает? Ладно, спросим профессора Люсьене.
You and
Edgar.
Professor Lucien seem to be having a lively conversation.
Oh, yes. He's an expert in ancient Egyptian art and preeminent in hieroglyphic research. He's the head of the Egyptian department in the British Museum, you know. And he's going to open an exhibition at the Egyptian Museum in Cairo.
Right, for the eye.
They had planned on exhibiting both jewels together for the first time in decades, but that's not going to happen now, sadly. I think it's quite upsetting for him.
We're working hard to ensure that at least one eye will be on display.
I know. I'll ask Lady Westmacott if she'd like to participate in the opening of the exhibition. I think it would be good for her.
And Professor Lucien will surely offer you a private tour.
Так, ну, спросим уж. Вы американка?
You're American, aren't you?
That's correct.
And you moved to England because of the job?
I lived in England before. During the Second World War, I volunteered. I worked in a pharmacy on a US base north of London.
In a pharmacy? Interesting.
Well, it was the war and everyone was sent where they could help best.
Please, go on, Mrs. Miller.
After the war, I studied music in London. I met my husband there. We married and went back to the States together.
He was also American?
No, English. But he said he had problems with his family and he wanted to be as far from them as possible.
And you gave up your studies for him?
Well, yes, I did.
Life as a single mother couldn't have been easy.
It was pretty tough then. I worked from morning till night and it was still only enough for the bare necessities. And I couldn't give Matt all the attention he needed.
And then Lady Westmacott entered your life.
It was like an angel appeared to me. She must have offered me the position out of pity. I had no experience as a carer. She made me a generous offer. I couldn't believe it. And she really adores Matt. She's offered him a good education, and now he has every opportunity in life.
An almost unbelievable story.
I'm still afraid that it's a dream and that I'll wake up one day.
Давайте спросим еще писательницу.
How does it feel to work for such a world-famous person?
The work is very interesting and varied, and it pays well too.
You are very lucky that the lady offered the position to you.
I just hope she won't change her mind one day. What would become of Matt's education then? I really make an effort to measure up to Lady Westmacott's expectations, but sometimes I feel like I fall short.
Lady Westmacott couldn't ask for a better companion.
I'm saving up as much money as I can all the same. I'd do anything so that Matt doesn't have to give up his new life.
То есть вы богат? В принципе, скорее всего. Не богат, по крайней мере, имеет какой-то... Ладно, так. Из инспектора Артур. Это еще что?
Lady Westmacott dropped a hint on the train that she killed her hero, Partout. What did she mean by that?
Oh, she must have meant the manuscript.
Manuscript?
She always takes it with her. It's an unpublished Partout novel. I once asked her why she never published it. She said that according to her will, the novel's only to be published after her death.
And in it, Partout will be killed?
Maybe. I've never read it. No one has. You'd better ask her yourself.
Хорошее завершение серии при условии, что писатель погиб.
If you worked in a pharmacy, you would certainly know something about medicines and poisons.
Everything is a potential poison, Constable. It depends on the dose.
Have you ever heard of chloral hydrate?
It's a tranquilizer, isn't it?
I'm asking you.
Lady Westmacott also asked questions like that for her last novel. But since I've never wanted to kill anyone, I never bothered with things like strychnine and arsenic and all that. I could recommend something for a headache, a sore throat, or a rash.
That's kind of you, but there's really no need. I'll be seeing you, Miss Miller.
Constable?
Достаточно простая девушка, но давайте, думаю, навестим в этом случае еще раз дворецкого и поищем американку. По всей видимости, она имеет какое-то отношение к баронессе, так как больше девушек у нас нет, ну, не считая самой писательницы, но сомневаюсь, что она могла высоко кричать при ее голосе. Так, сейчас осмотримся. Сначала тут у нас находится дворецкий, его проще всего найти будет. Дальше на всякий случай заглянем к писательнице и выйдем на противоположную сторону корабля. Может быть, там кто-то еще есть. Так, ну, привет, дружок. Нет. Окей, ничего нового не скажешь. Идем дальше. Ты еще не закончил допрашивать скрипача? Так, что дальше тут? Ничего новенького. Играм все еще допрашивает, ладно?
Lady Westmacott, may I bother you for a moment?
By all means, Mr. Zellner.
Так, давайте сначала немного по своим интересам.
Miss Miller told me that you have a valuable manuscript with you.
That is correct.
An unpublished Part 2 novel. The manuscript must be worth a fortune.
Oh, it's not just any Part 2 novel. I wrote it 20 years ago, but it will only be published after my death. It's Part 2's last case. Maurice Part 2 dies.
You're going to kill him off?
I already have. And I enjoyed it.
Madam.
I was so sick of writing one Part 2 novel after another. I was keen to stick a knife in his guts. And so, 20 years ago, I did. Of course, I didn't want to disappoint my fans, so I let him solve case after case. But at least I was certain that he'd never escape me, that in the end, I would get him.
I understand. Let's just hope that this novel remains unpublished for many more years.
Ладно, спросим, мисс Миллер, понимаете?
Did Miss Miller cope with all the excitement?
I think so, but what happened on the train was quite a shock for her. She wouldn't be able to go on if something happened to Matthew.
She's worried about him.
He's all she has. It breaks her heart that he lives at a boarding school and can't always be with her. But she sets her wishes and needs aside so that he can get a good education. That's her way.
Ух ты. Давайте спросим об отце Мэтью, хотя откуда она может знать?
Where is Matthew's father?
Gone. Run off. Ran away from his problems again. He drank a lot. More and more after each setback. It's better for both of them this way.
He left her.
She couldn't have borne it. She loved him and wanted to stick by him. She fell out with her family over him. They couldn't understand her. And when he left her, the ground opened up beneath her feet. For 2 weeks, she was as good as dead. If she didn't have Matthew, she'd be dead.
You seem to know a lot about it. I mean, about the time before Miss Miller began working for you.
I have my reasons.
And Matthew, do you care as deeply about the children of your other employees?
If you fail with your own child, you hope to do better with others, Constable.
Значит, ты, скорее всего, теща. Не свекровь. Окей, ладно.
And the idea to send Matt to a boarding school
was mine. Matthew idolized his father and blamed his mother for the fact that he wasn't around anymore. I was afraid the situation would escalate if he had to live on a country estate alone with his mother and some old people. I think I was right. He quickly made friends at boarding school. He's popular, well-liked, a real athlete according to his teachers. And his relationship with his mother has improved as well. He's headed in the right direction.
I have to be going, Lady Westmacott.
Please keep me informed, Constable Zellner.
Of
Ну
course.
что ж, все это интересно, но в принципе особо нас это не продвинуло. Пойдемте посмотрим, что на корме. И, наверное, будем заканчивать, если здесь никого не найдем. Искать нашу американку я пока плохо представляю. Возможно, где-то внутри, но вроде бы на нижних палубах тоже никого нет. Вот у нас тут капитан и как раз она. Оха. Окей, давайте, думаю, тогда здесь остановимся в серии, допросим их обоих и думаю, что тоже наверняка узнаем, так как крики, информация должна развязать ей язык. Пока что все. Доброй ночи.